Hey folks, Mark Emery here with the Lighthouse Law Club. In just a minute, I'm going to share with you some excerpts from a phone conversation that I had with our mortgage elimination and fraud specialist. We'll call him Jimmy for now, and he's got some very interesting insights, to say the least. And due to the fact that I'm going to pick and choose just some excerpts from that conversation, let me just summarize everything for you right up front so you can see the complete picture, and then you can hear directly from Jimmy, all right? So in this process, there's two parts. Part one is evidence gathering, research and collecting the evidence. This is done with a forensic audit using an individual who has very interesting and insightful access to certain databases that are extremely helpful in this process. He's an insider, okay? And this evidence gathering process, where we uncover the fraud in no uncertain terms, works just as well in judicial states and non-judicial states, because what we're doing is we're uncovering fraud. Fraud in the chain of title and fraud in the securitization. Those two different arenas are researched on your particular mortgage, and that information is brought forward where it's black and white. Okay? The evidence is then analyzed, and if there is a good case, which there usually is, but not always, then they will proceed. All right? Sometimes there's not a good case, and there are circumstances where there is not much, if any, fraud to be uncovered, and you'll hear Jimmy talk a little bit about that. And in that case, they'll tell you, okay, they're not doing this simply to collect fees from people, and they do charge for their service, all right? But if there's not a good case, they'll tell you, and the good news is that all is not lost at that point. There are still, if you're in a foreclosure situation, for example, there are still alternative ways to keep you in the home for at least 18 months to a couple years, all right, without any mortgage payments, all right? And so based on what comes back from the forensic audit and the research they determine and the number of violations that they uncover, that will determine how the case is put together, how the fraud case is assembled, and that will help determine exactly what the costs might be. So those costs will vary based on what you find in that evidence gathering process. Now, as far as the morality of this whole situation, you need to understand this. Your house has already been paid for several times over. And let me tell you how. First of all, if you've seen our video, Beat the Bankers, Eliminate Debt, you understand that the lender never lent you anything to begin with. You funded your own mortgage, okay? But they took the collateral, they took the fees, and they're taking the interest with absolutely no risk whatsoever. You're the only one at risk, all right? So nothing was ever lent to begin with, in most cases, all right? That being the case, the bankers then sell that note. After they've already created the money to put on their books to loan you, so they've received the funds first time, now they sell that in the secondary market, and they receive the money the second time. All right, then that note is securitized and put out onto the market. Those securities revolve over and over and over again. And you likely have seen that in the notices you've received on where to send your payments. That note is being sold and resold again. All right, so that's just churning in the market. And so these people are being paid time and again on your house. Now, if you've stopped making payments and you're behind on your payments, guess what? The lender then can collect on the mortgage insurance, and he gets paid on the house again. So they've already been paid several times over on the house, and yet they're still interested in taking that house from you, putting you out on the street, and causing untold misery for families around the country, around the world. All right, that's how it works, right? So don't be concerned about the morality of the situation here. We're trying to correct the immorality that has already been done, already been evident in your case, and we're just trying to remedy the situation, all right? And you're entitled to recourse and remedy. So, with that in mind, let's talk with Jimmy and see what he has to say about a few of these things, all right? Here we go. The problem is these damn courts are so corrupt. I mean, you can't count on the law prevailing. That's the whole issue.
That's it's always been the fly in the ointment. The judges do what they want to and don't uphold the law, especially in the state courts. But the federal venue is less. Well, it's really not biased and prejudiced against pro se litigants, and they really do, weigh up both sides, and the federal judges know what's happened, and there's still probably 94% of the state judges don't even know, the mechanics of the fraud or what really happened. They don't care. They just sit up there and say, well, you hadn't made your payments for 6 years. I'm not ruling in your favor. We're going to sell your house and you get you some cardboard boxes. I've heard that story about 82 times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you're saying the federal judges seem to be a little bit more pure in their knowledge and a little bit more unbiased.
You're right.
But,
and two, there's no hearings in the federal court. I've never had a client have to go to bankruptcy. They do, but for district courts they don't. For federal appellate courts they don't, and they don't have to go for state appeals either. But the judicial states that foreclosed by a lawsuit, they'll have hearings. But there's another good thing about the federal cases: they don't have to go to any hearings. All they do is shuffle papers.
Okay, yeah, well, that makes it easier for the pro se litigants, huh?
Yeah, it sure does. Individual audit first, and then see for themselves all the claims and causes they have. Almost every audit has 30 to 60 violations of whatever state it is, plus the United States Title Code violations and the Uniform Commercial Code statute violations, and it's really powerful. Our auditors, they just do a wonderful job, and they quote the law throughout the audit to match it up to each violation. And he does a supporting affidavit that is really strong. It's just a succinct synopsis of the whole audit. Takes under oath and under penalty of perjury. He has it notarized, and he'll come into court and testify if it was necessary. And another thing, if it was, he could appear on Skype with the federal courts, and they don't have to fly him in and and burden have that additional cost be a burden, because he'd probably have to have 3,000 to come in for a 1 hour hearing. Get all the peripherals, the car, the per diem, the motel room, the plane ticket, and what his fees would be for the day. So, it's like you say, we got the law, we got the proof, we got the evidence, and still the judges, can just have that attitude, well, I'm not ruling for you.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cases being won.
What's the likelihood of getting a settlement? It seems to me that the defendants would never want to have this brought into open court.
That's true. They shouldn't. And some juries have really awarded a lot of money in some of these cases, $5 million, $8 million, $11 million. And so I know they don't, but we have to, we can't tell them, if you go to trial, let's settle it. We have to go through the machinations of showing the risk of going to trial.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do anything unless you make them do it. But I've had some state cases dismissed. I've had some judgments overturned. And this federal case, it's working as well as automatic stay in a bankruptcy. It's stopped every issue with every client since we've been doing it. If there's going to be a trial or a summary judgment hearing, we can stop it with a federal case. If it's after that and there's going to be a sale, we've been successful stopping those. And then even after the sale, we've succeeded in stopping the certificate of title to the new owner. And even if it's after it's been transferred after sale and is in the new owner's name, I've got 3 clients that were at the stage of the notice of eviction on their door, and all 3 of them, we stopped the eviction, and they're all still in their house, one since December, once April, and then another one for a couple months. And they just, we shut them down with a real terse letter that if they continue to compound the illegalities with knowledge, which they have once they see a copy of the federal case.
Yeah, it's criminal.
That and to compound it by sale or compound it by transfer of title or eviction, their damages go up commensurately. But the leverage on it is we send it to every attorney that signed a court document in the case and to his law firm that each individual associate attorney that's participated and the law firm are going to be joined to the federal case.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's stopping them.
Yeah.
Because if they, got a foreclosure and then they want to do the sale, that's compounded. And if it's after the sale, they're going to compound it by changing the title illegally. And if that's past that, an eviction, it's going to be an illegal eviction on top of a wrongful foreclosure and all the peripherals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's powerful.
It is.
Yeah. So that gives people hope, even if they're in the late stages.
Yeah, well, our first priority is, to protect their residency. And my record, I kept a guy in New York in his house for 9 years and got plenty over 5 years. I got one here in my home county that was 7 years old in January. He was served in 2010, and he's still in his house. And so we do really well slowing everything down to protect them as long as we can. If we don't win the house and the money, which is the real carrot, in front of the donkey's nose. But first, we always do our best to protect their residency, but we're hoping to win the cases in the house and some damage money. So
yeah,
it's working good.
Well, even in the cases that may not win due to a corrupt judge, it seems as though that the investment in the process, the expenses involved would certainly be far outweighed if they can stay in their house for 6 years or whatever.
That's it.
Yeah,
we earn our money even if we don't win the federal case by keeping them in their house.
Yeah, they don't have to make payments the whole time.
That's right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we I've been doing this every day for 15 years, never had a complaint.
Okay.
And I've been advertising on RBN radio for 2 years, and they've vetted me before they allow me to broadcast my ads. And, they've never had any client call them up and complain about us.
Yeah.
And so
great.
We do what we say. We don't make misrepresentations, and we meet the court deadlines. Every once in a while we get a continuance, but we don't like to.
That's what people are looking for, that's for sure. Some kind of relief. And, to me, this whole foreclosure thing, it's just an epidemic. It's an organized racketeering spree.
Absolutely. It's the biggest scam ever perpetrated on the world, and especially Americans.
Yeah.
It's a money and a land grab. I compare it to what Hitler did with tanks and guns and soldiers and planes and battleships, what he did to Europe, these guys have done it with paper and ink. But it's the same thing. Lives have been destroyed. There's probably been 1 million divorces because of it. Probably hundreds of thousands of people committed suicide. People are still living in their parents' basement or shelters or their car or, home.
And really, in the big picture, it just seems to fit as a part of the globalists' plan to make everyone dependent. If no one has their own home, everyone's dependent on some outside source for subsistence, and that makes everyone much more easily controlled.
Mm-hmm. And if they go into a mod, they make it a 50-year mortgage and add the principal on the backside, and they'll never pay for their house. They're just paying rent to the bank.
Yeah.
One thing another thing is 100%. Anybody that goes into a temporary mod rather than a permanent one, every one of the clients that came to me that have done it, I had a couple that tried it, and I've got a network of associates that they doing the same thing we're doing it, and there's never been a client that when they paid that last temporary mod payment ever get converted to a permanent mod. As soon as they complete the trial mod, they say, well, you're not qualified for the permanent mod, and then they go to sell the house, but they stole another 6 months or a year payments out of them on a temporary mod, and they have no intention whatsoever to convert it to a permanent mod.
So they steal that money as gravy on the top, and then they get the
then
they get the whole enchilada anyway. My God, I mean that's just satanic.
Yeah, it is, and two, they've sold the note and the mortgage to a trust on Wall Street and already been paid, and then now they're going to take the property and get paid again, and a lot of them have collected mortgage insurance. And so they get paid 3 times, plus the stealing of temporary mod money at the end, just to be, pinch every booger out of every Lincoln penny that the homeowner owns, and then put them in the street.
Yeah, so they get paid 3 or 4 times, and then they willfully destroy people's lives. That is just unimaginable.
Yeah, they know they're doing it.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely, it's all premeditated. It's a brilliant scheme, but like you said, I say, it's really satanic, and it's dark, and it's evil, destroying so many people.
Yeah.
We don't try to collect on the case until after they see their audit, how much credibility and clout and leverage it does give them to go to court.
Yeah, so really it's kind of a 2-step process. First, get the audit, see what you're working with, and then figure out what the strategy is from there.
Yeah, right. And to the auditor, he won't do the audit if they don't have a case, and I won't do the case if they don't have a case. We don't take anybody's money just to be doing it when they don't have any hope.
Okay, so with respect to your time, let me just summarize a couple of key points that we covered in the duration of the conversation, which went on for quite some time, so I'll try and cut it here short for you. The cases that do not work real well might be a case in which you have a line of credit secured by equity in your property, and you've drawn down on that line of credit various times, maybe on a periodic basis, whether it be monthly or whenever you need it. And in those cases, it's not a simple lump sum that is being dealt with, and those lines of credit are not. There isn't an instrument that's sold into the secondary market. Okay, so if you're using your equity to secure a line of credit, that's not a situation that will be applicable in this particular case. Jimmy indicated also that if the mortgage is created by a state bank, those mortgages typically go into a portfolio and are not sold off. Okay, so that might be a situation where this approach would not apply properly. So those are just a couple ideas. Some states they've had more success in than others. And really, I guess the thing is, you just need to move forward if you want to evaluate this and get started in the evaluation process to see exactly how things can turn out. But it appears that in most cases that there is significant fraud and reason or cause to make a claim for damages. And in the very worst case scenario, if going through this process, if it's determined that there really is not a good case based on what we've discussed so far, Jimmy assured me that they have a strategy to help keep you in the house for at least 18 months, which can help you prepare for whatever comes next, right? So there is no issue at all in stopping or putting in abeyance any type of action, even if you're at the last fence post along the way. Very late into the stages, he can help keep you in the house, worst case scenario, for at least a good amount of time. So there you go, folks. Powerful information, powerful resources, some very powerful solutions, and it's no accident that Jimmy and I have connected. I really believe that divine providence is at work here. We're in the end times, and the fraud and deceptions and corruption is being exposed. And this is being done for the benefit of the people, especially those who are walking in divine providence with the Lord. And what you need to do now is get started with your Lighthouse Law Club membership as a constitutional commando. Any fees involved with on Jimmy's side, they will be determined once a proper evaluation has been done on your case. Should you have a good case and wish to proceed, again, we've got the grant program to help assist you with any fees that might be required if you decide to proceed. All right? So there is that as some financial assistance if necessary. So with that, take care and God bless. I hope this has been helpful information for you, and I hope you can benefit.